Hey friends, it's Stephanie here, the host of the Giving Your Best Life podcast. And I once again have my mentee friend, Sarah Vessely, on with us. Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Last time we talked about something, well, we were really talking about this mentee mentor relationship, and you touched on about tell us a little bit about like being delayed and going to college and kind of like where you're at right now, how old are you, where your friends are at, just so we're all kind of on the same
Yeah.
page as it relates to that. And what we're going to talk about today on this episode is comparison. I think something we all struggle with.
So I'm 20 years old and I'm going into my freshman year of college this fall. And all my friends are going into their junior year of college this fall, which even though it's like 2 years difference, it still seems like a lot because they've been doing all the things like I'm about to start doing. And so I think I felt like behind in like some sense kind of like when they come home for fall break and then they go back, I'm like I'm still here. Like I feel lonely kind of, I'm like I'm still right here. Or when they come home for Christmas and they make all their rounds to see everybody and I'm like I can do that whenever. So then I started to feel like this sense of like gratitude where it's like I can go see my gram whenever I want to. I don't have to wait for Christmas break or for fall break. I can just go do it. Or even like talking to Stephanie, I can like go over to her house on like a random like Tuesday. I don't have to wait
Yeah.
for a certain time where I'm free. So I definitely feel behind, but I think also this past year really I've started to turn it to more of like a gratitude lens, which Stephanie loves gratitude and she does it
Yes.
so well. And I think she teaches it so well to see like everything as gratitude. So I started to see it through that lens.
Wonderful. So let's talk about going back of that year, your senior year, going into most of your friends are looking at college, deciding college, and you decide not to go to college. But let's dive into the comparison that I think happens. And so maybe if you remember what you were thinking about comparison in that moment, because I think a lot of times people make decisions based off comparison as opposed to what God is calling them to do. So let's go there, and then I've got some other questions for you.
Yeah. I think well, I remember like vividly, I was sitting in the chair for graduation, and the person who was talking, like the speaker, was like, everyone here is either gonna go to college, go to a trade, or go to the military. And I'm like, I'm doing none of those. I was like, I feel like I'm like left out. And so, because they were saying that, and I was like, okay. So then I started overthinking. I was like, should I just make like a last minute decision to go to college? Should I join a trade? Should I do something else with my life? And then I remember walking the stage, and there you're like free from like school, like I'm free. But then also like you have no idea what you're doing next. And so I think that's where it like really started was at graduation because you'd like look around and people would be like, I'm going to college in like 80 days and I'm gonna move here and I'm going to Alabama or I'm going to Arkansas or I'm going to the military and it's like I'm staying right where I am. Which I think can be like hard. It was hard for me, but also other people would be like, that's so cool. And so I think when other people started saying that, I was like, it is kind of cool. Because I think like what I was doing, since I wasn't just like sitting here doing nothing, I was writing books and I was speaking at places and I was working with Stephanie and all this stuff, which was so amazing. But I think that's where that comparison started, and I don't think it ever really like stops. Like you're always
Yeah.
going to compare, no matter if it's where they are, or no matter if it's like they bought the $200 leggings and you can only afford like the $40 ones, or like whatever it is. There's always going to be something because I think we just like look for comparison all the time.
Oh, I think that's such a good point of it never stops. And you have to be cognizant of it. So tell me about like how over the last couple of years, how did you deal with comparison of like, okay, I'm still at home, my friends are at college. Like how do you deal with that? And I know you said it never stops, but like we've got to if we do see problems in our life or challenges or struggles, we can either stay stuck in that. So we can either stay stuck in that comparison loop or we can say, okay, this is where I'm at. comparison, like it's from the devil. It's not in the Bible. We're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to be envy and jealous and all
Mhm.
of that stuff. Is so tell me, how have you worked through that? I know you talked about gratitude, but is there anything else besides gratitude, which gratitude and probably looking at like this is where God has me and I'm grateful for this day. I'm grateful to get to do what I get to do, write books, speak, work with
Yeah.
Stephanie, be with my family, like those things. So I think that's important that you pointed that out, is that gratitude is a mindset shift. But what else? Like, how have you been able to work through comparison? Or if you're still like struggling with it, what's that look like?
Yeah, I think like working through it, just like talking to God. And my best friend told me this advice she got from her brother. And he said, you can't mess up the path God has you on when he's the one who paved it. Because it's like God's not just gonna like leave you anywhere. So I think it kind of turned from like a comparison thing to like a this is where I am and just kind of like being okay with that because I couldn't change it and I didn't want to change it either because I liked writing books and I liked speaking. And so I think the biggest thing for me too is when my friends would be like, I just got home from like a 4 hour lap. I was like, ew. I was like, I'm glad I'm not doing that right now. Or when they would be like so far away from home, I'm like, wait, I can go sit with my parents right now. I can go to coffee with my brother. I can go do all this stuff with my sisters. I can go to breakfast with my nana and papa. Like, I think realizing that everything's like okay where you are is such like a big mindset.
Shift.
Yes, I could not say that.
That's okay.
And I think also like I think sometimes you can like play like the like victim in your head, but once you like shift that and be like,
True.
hey, you're okay, you still live at home, that's a good thing. You don't have to pay for rent. It's free. They pay for all your groceries and all your food and all this stuff. They pay for the house. And then like they're like soaking in all the time that you have also is what I've been doing recently, which is kind of like bittersweet of like, oh, I won't have this in this time next year or whatever. But I think just like staying where you are and just like talking to God constantly about it really helped me like shift that mindset.
I do think too is if you do get trapped, I think comparison is a trap. And if you do get stuck in that trap, let's think about what a trap is. If you're bear trapping or coyote, my dad and his like friend that they do coyote trapping, and it keeps that coyote like right here. And it can only move in a small space. It can't go out and continue to do what God created it to do because it's trapped. And so I think I really want to ask the listener of like asking yourself is, where am I comparing myself to other people, whether it's a sibling, whether it's somebody on social media, whether it's a friend, and then asking yourself is that comparison that you're doing keeping you trapped or stuck? And any advice how to get out of that? Like if you first of all, I think the biggest problem is recognizing it. Don't lie to yourself that no, I'm not doing this. We all do it. But then if you recognize you're comparing yourself, like what is your thought of like how do you get out of that and move forward into what God's calling you to do?
Yeah, I think like for me at least, I would like compare myself to them and then they would say like they're comparing themselves to me. So like we're
Oh,
both
it's such
like
a good
like
point,
we
right?
both want to be like each other. Like it's kind of like the thing where it's like if you're short, you want to be tall. If you're tall, you want to be short. If you have blonde hair, you want brown. Like all that stuff. Like you're
I
never okay with what you have.
I said that in my book, The Gratitude Challenge, in the beginning, because it's like when you're single, you want to be married. When you're married, sometimes you want to be single. I mean, my husband and I never had kids, but it's like, you want kids. And then I have friends that have kids and all they're doing is complaining about their kid. Like, so you're always comparing yourself. But I think that's where, like, that's such a good point. I
Mm-hmm.
love that because,
Yeah.
and you're not thinking about what your friends are thinking. You're just,
Yeah.
again, trapped in your own thoughts where you're at. And they're like, no, look at Sarah. Like, how cool is she? And you're not thinking
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah. I also think recently there's been like a big shift for me of like the difference of comparison and complaining, where it's like they seem like very different, but it's like you can compare yourself to them or you can complain that you're not there yet. Where it's like I can like compare that I'm not like that they're in college and I'm here. Or I can be like, oh, I could be in my junior year right now. And I think like just like stop complaining, like you like tell yourself you're like just get up and just do the next right thing. Just like get up, live your life. You're breathing, you can walk, like all this stuff. So I
Oh,
think
so good.
like the gratitude, it always goes back to gratitude, where it's like someone out there in the world wants to walk today, and I can
Mhm.
walk, and my legs and arms work, and I can do all this stuff. And so I think that's always like what I go back to. But I find myself, I think, complaining more than comparing, just because like they have this big house, they have this awesome backyard, they have like 6 kids, you know? I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of kids. And also, I think sometimes too, I talked about this at one of the Bible studies I think you were at, and it was like when people started adding the word realistic in front of everything that they do. Because on TikTok, you'll scroll and see like realistic day in the life, and you're like, what's a normal day in the life? You know, it's like everybody's life is messy, or it's like a realistic what I eat in the day, and it's like you can have a donut. Like no one's gonna judge you for eating a donut. Like donuts are
Right.
good. Like just have the donut and then move on. You know. But I think also people care so much about what other people think about them. So like, they don't want to show like the fun parts of their life. They don't be like serious. And for me at least too, the people that I follow, they like pick up their Bible in their morning routine, but that could be like the only time that they ever talk to God. Like you don't know like how deep that relationship goes, which goes both ways, like for like the listener too. But yeah, I just think like the biggest difference for me is comparison and complaining, like back and forth.
That's so good because if you are complaining, you are not in a grateful place. You're looking at what you don't have versus what you do have. And it's nobody wants to be around a complainer. Like, really pay attention to, I mean, think about it. When you're around somebody that they're just constantly complaining, they are exhausting to be around. And I think that's something that if you're listening to this, I really want you to pause and go, wait, am I a complainer? Am I, if you've noticed maybe friends that are, going away or not inviting you to stuff, like, and maybe it's your friends and maybe it's everything, but, it's like sometimes you might be the problem. And that's hard to hear because it's like, man, every time so and so shows up or every time I talk to them, it's always the victim, the drama, the whatever, And so I think that's a really, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, we talked about the gratitude, but I would say the opposite of gratitude is complaining. And what are you complaining about? Let's dive into, and maybe we just wrap up here because you touched on it, is social media is such a like dumpster fire, I gotta admit, because you're right of people only try to put like the good stuff or what they're doing. Maybe they're shooting a video of them reading the Bible. They're not even reading the Bible. They're not listening to God, but it's like, oh, I got to put this out here. And so I think social media has caused us to be such a society that comparison is now, because used to we couldn't see into people's lives, and so now not only are you seeing into people's lives, but you're only seeing what they want to show you, and it's mainly good stuff. And then you're like, you're like, my life's a dumpster fire and look how great they are. Do you want to like talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's just all around us now. Like you just see everyone's perfect thing. Or even like the biggest story last week was how Taylor Swift got married at like Madison Square Garden. And it's like, I don't care. Like it's like
Yeah.
that's good for her. She's getting married, but let's go back to like normal headlines where it's like a soldier came home this week. Like that's awesome. You know? And I think there's a movie that my mom watched. I think on Hallmark they have their like, Christmas in July right now, and there was a movie on there, and this guy was a news anchor, and this little boy goes and job shadows him, but the man only covers bad news, and the kid's like, "Hey, why don't you cover good news?" And the man was like, "Because nobody wants to listen to good news." And then by the end, he's covering the good news. Yeah. And he's covering the good news, and like more people are watching than ever because like people want to see the good stuff, but I guess that also leads into like the comparison, where it's like if it's so good, like they're gonna like compare themselves to you. And I just think social media is just like a once you like click on Instagram, like I know I'm gonna compare myself to at least like one person, and not even like it's like subconsciously kind of now.
Right.
Because you're on your phone so much. You're like, I wish I looked like her. I wish I had her clothes. I wish all these things. And what I would say to the person listening, dealing with that is like when God made everything, he said it is good. nothing was better, nothing was worse. It's like you're as good as a giraffe is. Like yeah, like you can't like compare the two because they're both good.
And they're both different too.
Mhm.
God created everybody uniquely and different. And so it is such a trap from the devil to be comparing yourself, because you're never going to be like that person, because he did not make us alike. He
Mhm.
gave us different personalities and different looks, and we have different like everything is different about us, which is, I never really thought about that, but it's like, oh, it's such a trap from the devil of
Mhm.
comparison, because you're never going to be able to live up to, which goes about what we were talking about, like you're never going to be enough. You're
Mhm.
never going to be able to live up to that next person or
Yeah.
whatever.
And I think also like when we see somebody that has like all the stuff that we want, we set like unrealistic expectations for ourselves to try and get that. So it's like I'm gonna post 14 TikToks today, so maybe I can get like 1,000 followers by tomorrow. And it's like that's so much work for you. So by the time you post the 14th one, you're burnt out and you hate social media now and you don't want to do it anymore. And so I think like you don't know like what's going on like in their lives. You just see the people at their best because it's just like a highlight reel. And I know everybody always says that, but like it's true. Like social media is a highlight reel because the mom isn't going to want to post her kid having a tantrum in the store. She's going to
Right.
post when they're acting so good at the dinner table. And
Uh,
everything that you see, they're only posting the 5 second good part of it.
it's so interesting you say that. I think about this is just a good visual. I flew to Italy a couple of weeks ago, and on the flight over there were these two sweet girls. I mean, they were so precious at the airport, and they were matched alike, and yeah, they were probably 5 years old, 4 years old, little, and literally the mom is walking them around the airport, posing them. They're cute, they're smiling, and they were great on the plane, but they could have been bad on the plane. They could have been screaming and crying and preoccupied, and the mom probably isn't going to post that. She's
Mm-hmm.
posting a post, they're doing whatever. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I think too, this is advice I have, and I've really like tried to live up to that. This is, if you find yourself comparing somebody on social media. So let's say I'm following Sarah, and every time I get on social media, I am like locked into Sarah, what she's doing, and not trying to learn from Sarah, not trying to, like get anything good from Sarah. It's, I'm comparing myself to, look what Sarah's got on today. Look at Sarah's life. Is, I really challenge you to unfollow Sarah. And I have really done that. If I find people that I start to slip down that slope, it's like, no, that is like a temptation. And I need to either work on myself or go, I'm not even gonna, like, that's not making me a better person.
Mm-hmm.
And so and that's hard to do sometimes, because sometimes
Yeah.
there's people following that we want to know what's going on in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, that person's only
Yeah.
leading you to sin and to
Mm-hmm.
nothing good, nothing to the fruits
Yeah.
of the spirit, right?
Yeah.
So,
I also think the other part of that too is I think some people have this mindset of if I post this, they're gonna compare themselves to me. If I go here, they're gonna want to be me. So they flip it to be like, I have all this good stuff, everyone's gonna want to be me. In reality, they're lonely. And so I think there's like two sides to that story of like where
yeah,
if you're following them, you're comparing yourself to them, but they want that to happen. They want you to want everything that they have.
that's such a good, yeah. So maybe you're listening and thinking about, why are you posting what you're posting? Is it
Hmm.
to help somebody? Is it to encourage somebody? Is it to inspire, lead them to Christ, to change a new habit? Or, like you said, I never even thought about that,
Hmm.
is, are you trying to get someone to be more like you, to, that, wow, that's a great perspective. And then really be thinking about, why are you posting what you're posting? And I think this isn't to say is like, you, the listener, this is the only reason. We all struggle with that, or we all
Hmm.
post something that we post it because internally we want somebody to be jealous, or we
Hmm.
want somebody to see what we
Yeah.
have or whatever. So I think that's a good point, and something that we should probably recognize and pray and think about, like, okay, why am I posting? What is the purpose of this? I
Hmm.
love that. As we wrap up this conversation on like the trap of comparison, anything else you want to add or anything else that you see or you struggle with?
I think something going back to like the comparison is it's one of the days in my new devotional coming out soon. But I was going through who I was following on Instagram because every month I'm like, okay, let's do this like reset of like, are they actually Christian? Like, let me go through this. And I clicked on this one person. I was like, I'm gonna unfollow them. And then I saw like followed by so and like 40 others. And I was like, should I unfollow them or no? Because everybody else still followed them. So then I was like, I want to still follow them so I can relate to people who do follow them, but I don't want to actually follow them. So then if you go in like this own like trap, make yourself go in the spiral. Whereas if I would have clicked unfollow, I would have been fine. But I clicked on their
Right.
profile and I looked who was following them and I was like, but I like all those people and they follow him. And since they're Christian, that means that they're probably Christian too, right? So it's
Well,
like,
and then you're like comparing yourself on a different level. Like you're
mm-hmm,
comparing yourself to the people that are following
yes,
them. And yeah,
mm-hmm,
instead of like, no, let's just act like the Holy Spirit, Lord, was leading you to unfollow, like convicting you of, hey, you really need to be careful about who you're following.
mm-hmm,
And then the devil quips in there and going, they're fine. Their content's
mm-hmm,
fine. Like, look at all
yeah,
these people over here that like makes it look good. And I think
mm-hmm,
that's how the devil is deceitful and a liar, you know? And
yeah.
it's like, be careful of that trap also.
Yeah. And I would also say to the listener, even though, like, let's say you're following somebody and then you look to see who's following them, just because their followers are Christian doesn't mean that they are. I think is really important. If you're going through who like a famous Christian person is and they're following all these people, you're like, I can follow them too. And it's like, no, you can use your own conviction and like for that. And I think like these days you're like, oh, since that Christian person did it, I can do that too. And it's like that's
Yeah.
not really how that works. Like it's your own conviction and your own discernment and like just talking to the Lord about it because he's probably like, do not do that. He's like, don't go follow that person. That's just gonna lead you into sin and lead you into like these thoughts and stuff. But since they're doing it, it seems okay.
Right. No, and I think I just remember too is like also it's not your judge to go look at, well, let me see who Sarah's following. Let me see who Stephanie's following. That they're following this person and it's not a Christian and you have no idea of when they followed that person, why they're following
Mm-hmm.
that person or whatever. And it's like stay in your own lane. Like stay in your own lane,
Mm-hmm.
your own convictions, your discernment and like God take I think we often try to be like that judge and jury also as we're comparing people it's like oh but I'm so much better because
Mm-hmm.
I'm following everybody that's a
Yeah.
Christian and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where the comparison trap can get in also is us thinking we are so much better than other
Mm-hmm.
people because we're not following somebody or we haven't done that or whatever and it's
Mm-hmm.
like no, the Bible says over and over, you know, like humble yourself, like
Mm-hmm.
focus on yourself, like God, you could pray for that person, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you see something that they're doing and you're like, oh, I'm kind of surprised by that. Then pray for that person or go have a conversation with them. But like,
Yeah.
don't be the judge and jury of that person. So,
Mm-hmm.
anything else as it relates to the trap of comparison you want to chat about?
I think it's just like difficult to not because everyone around you is doing it.
Yeah.
But I think like once you get out of that trap, you're like, why was I comparing my leggings to her leggings? You're like, that wasn't that big of a deal. And
And it,
something sorry,
now go for
my
it.
mom always said was this is about more like Mean Girls, but like we would come home from school and be like, this girl called me ugly today. Something random, and
Yeah.
she's like, people my age are still rude. She's like, you never grow out of comparison, and you never grow out of Mean Girls. And it's like,
It's
okay,
It is true. And it's like, let's pray for that person. You know, let's
hmm
pray for that person because they have something going on. They're comparing. That's what I found is usually when people are mean. I was just talking to this morning with one of my coaching clients and really struggling with some people in her life. And I was like, it has nothing to do about you.
hmm
They're, you could tell that those people that are being mean to her are comparing their life to the life that she has, and they're miserable. These people
hmm
over here are miserable. And so, even though she's the one that's getting hurt, it's like, no, you're doing the right things. This is the life that you're living,
hmm
and their attack on you and how they are
yeah,
behaving. And so I said, like, we're going to pray for those people, and then you
hmm
need to move on because if not,
yeah,
then you get stuck in how that
Hmm.
person's treating you. And it's like, you cannot control that. Like I
Yeah.
said, as you can pray for them, you can confront people. I mean, the Bible
Hmm.
tells us have a conversation with your brothers and sisters in Christ.
Hmm.
But then after that, it's like, okay, I can only do so much, and then I
Yeah.
got to walk away and don't be stuck in that.
Hmm.
So, I think I'll wrap up there. We had a great conversation today about the trap of comparison and maybe some ways that you could work through that. And hopefully, this is just another way that you can get to giving your best life. Thank you for listening to the Giving Your Best Life podcast. If this episode encouraged you, would you please share it with a friend or family member? Also, we'd love it if you would rate and review this podcast. Finally, if you want to connect with us, subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Giving Your Best Life. Have a fabulous day.